Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'll be discussing the battery life on the Motorola Moto One Vision. This is the beautiful gradient sapphire color. As you can see, it looks absolutely stunning, and as you move the phone across, you can see the reflection in the back, and that adds a bit more beauty to it. This is a budget and handset. It's got a Samsung Exynos 9609, which is a mid-range chipset, and also the phone comes with 4 gigs of RAM. It has a 6.3 inches IPS LCD screen, and this screen is being powered by a 3500 milliamp battery. So naturally, it's not a quad HD screen, it's a full HD plus screen, and with this kind of battery size, you expect a good battery life. Now, I'll be using the phone for a good number of weeks, and I've got some stats in my typical fashion. But before we start that, let's quickly get into the basic specs and see which version of Android the phone is running. So system settings, and from here you can go into about phone. As you can see here, right here, O2 UK, that's the network I'm currently using, and this is the Motorola One Vision XT1970-3. This is the European model, and if you go further down, you see the phone is running Android version 9. And further down in advanced, as you can see, if you tap here, go into system updates and click on see if you got any system updates. We haven't, because the phone has received a couple of updates already, but it's telling you it's running Android version 9 along with security patch level 1st of July. So hopefully we'll have the August patch up coming up very soon. Okay, so without wasting any more time, now let's get into photos in my typical fashion, and let's go through some screen on times and see how the phone's been behaving with battery in the last few weeks. Okay, as soon as I got the phone out of the box, I had an update straight away on the 5th of June. It was a while back. I do apologize guys, it took me a while to come back. I've been busy at work. However, I have taken enough screenshots to give you an idea of how the battery life on this phone is, which like I said is a 3500 milliamp battery powering a 6.3 inch IPS LCD, and the chipset is Samsung's 9609, the mid-range chipset. And you go further down, the first screenshot I took was 97%. As you can see, just before midnight on the 21st of July, the battery was at 97%. When I took the screenshot again in the morning around 6 o'clock, you can see the battery had gone down to 95%. The first standby tests were really good. As you can see, once again, 97% at 23:12, which is 12 past 11 at night, and then in the morning around 6 o'clock, 95%. So it only lost 2% overnight. Okay, this is the first screenshot I took. As you can see, lots of music streaming via Spotify, almost for 1 day and 2 hours non-stop streaming, and Google Play services, making an hour and a half of phone calls, YouTubing, everything else, WhatsApping, Instagram, social media, emails, and eventually I was able to get 2 hours and 41 minutes of screen on time. Mind you, during this time, a lot of time the phone was on standby. I was at work, I couldn't use the phone as much, and on standby, when the phone has got Wi-Fi on, it does drain the battery a bit, which you will see in my few screenshots further down in the video. You will see a significant difference of screen on time here as opposed to when you're using the phone pretty much non-stop. Okay, once again at 23:14, that's 11:14 at night, the battery was at 70%. I took another standby screenshot to see how much it drains during the night time. Here at 5:34 in the morning, the battery had gone down to 66%. So overnight, from 70 to 66%, meaning it lost 4% overnight, which was slightly worse as opposed to what we had from before. Obviously, by then I had installed a lot more applications, there was more usage, and then obviously more drainage. Okay, here once again, battery down to 5%, using it for after 1 day and 5 hours with 2.5 almost hours of YouTubing, lots of WhatsApping, Instagram, social media, emails, phone, over an hour of phone calls, and I was once again able to get 3 hours and 45 minutes of screen on time. As you can see, this is slightly better than what one we had before. Why? Because I had spent more time with the phone and it wasn't left on standby for as long as it was during the first time of the testing. Okay, once again another screenshot, and down to 3%, all that regular social media stuff, and I was getting pretty much the same screen on time as I had from before. I forgot to take the screenshot for that, but I remember it was around the 3.5 to 4 hours of mark. Okay, once again I tested the standby at 84%, just past midnight, 21 past midnight on 27th of July. And then when I got up in the morning around 10 o'clock on a weekend, the battery was down to 79%. So from 84% to 79, meaning it lost about 5 to 6% overnight. Once again, average, not the best, I've seen better, but not too bad. Once again here, a battery down to 10%, an hour and a half of YouTubing, over an hour of Instagramming, social media, emails. I did make a lot of phone calls, and I can tell you guys the phone call and the speaker quality is absolutely brilliant, and I had no issues whatsoever. WhatsApping, everything else, and eventually I was able to get 5 hours and 51 minutes of screen on time. This was one of the best I had. And the reason you see so much difference between this figure and the figures from before is because I was spending more time on the screen, not leaving the phone for hours and hours on standby, being at work. I was on the weekend at home, so I had more time to spend with the phone, and that's why I was able to get more screen on time. Okay, forget this bit. So for going further down again, another screenshot, 5%. By the way, most of these shots were with the mixed usage. So I had Wi-Fi, 4G, a bit of everything. On the weekends I had more Wi-Fi. On weekdays I had a bit of 4G, bit of Wi-Fi at work as well. But the main thing was that I wasn't able to use it as much during my weekdays, as I was at work and very busy. On weekends I had a more realistic screen on time. Okay, going further down again, Spotify, Twitter, photos, everything else. Eventually able to get 5 hours and 8 minutes of screen on time. As you can see, if my camera can focus, there we go. So 5 hours and 8 minutes of screen on time. This was slightly better as opposed to what we had from before. The first two, but not as good as the last one. Okay, once again down to 7%, and regular media usage, emails and everything else, and eventually I was able to achieve 2 hours and 55 minutes. Once again, this was me at work, and when you leave the phone with the Wi-Fi or 4G on, obviously it will drain more battery. But I've noticed one thing though, when you have the Wi-Fi and the 4G switched on and then you leave the phone on standby, it drains more battery. However, if you leave it overnight without Wi-Fi and 4G on, it doesn't drain as much battery, so please keep that in mind. Okay, once again, once I did the update and everything else, and eventually all these shots you see were after I applied the new update. Okay, here battery down to 5%, social media, YouTubing, all the bits and bobs. Once again, I was able to achieve 6 hours and 44 minutes of screen on time. This was one of the best I had on the phone. So that means that if you are actively using the phone, whether you're on 4G or Wi-Fi, you're bound to get good battery life from the phone. Obviously, only an IPS LCD, a full HD plus screen, not a quad HD screen, and then a massive 3500 mAh battery also playing its role. But if you do leave the phone with Wi-Fi 4G on, you will see it will drain more battery out. Once again, 5%, regular bits and bobs, and once again I'm getting over 6 hours of screen on time. As you can see, 6 hours and 7 minutes of screen on time. Once again, if you engage with the phone more, you will get more screen on time. That is not the case with every phone. Some phones you engage more, they don't give you as much screen on time, but in this case, because it's got a massive battery, and if you keep using the phone, you will get good, decent amount of screen on time. Battery down to 5%, another screenshot, YouTubing, Facebooking a lot, Instagramming, Chroming, tweeting, everything else, news, emails, and eventually once again I was able to achieve 5 hours and 51 minutes of screen on time. So you can see you have an idea now. If you engage with the phone more and you don't leave it on standby with Wi-Fi and 4G on, you're bound to get good screen on time. But if you're the kind of person, you can leave Wi-Fi and 4G on, leave the phone in your pocket for hours and hours, say during night time or at work, and you do long shifts like 12-hour shifts or 14-hour shifts, and you keep the phone in standby, it will lose battery for sure. Maybe something to do with the Samsung's mid-range chipset, it's the screen or whatever that is, but it does tend to lose battery if you leave the Wi-Fi and 4G on and leave phone on standby for hours and hours. So much so that at times I had to compare it with my S9 and S10. I left both the phones on standby. After 2 days I checked, the One Vision had completely shut down, whereas the S9 and the S10 still had a significant amount of battery left. But overall, it's definitely a good phone. It will last you long. It hasn't slowed down on me. It's got decent enough performance, good cameras, a very beautiful body. I like the 21:9 screen ratio. It's easy to grab with one hand, and overall it's a good recommended handset as long as you don't leave it in your pocket with Wi-Fi or 4G on for hours and hours. You should be good to go. Guys, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. Any questions about the battery life or anything else, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. And like always, please subscribe as it helps, and I shall see you in the next video.